not by accident, not by chance. The timing of your life is not random. If you're watching this, it means something inside of you is ready. Ready to awaken. Ready to remember who you truly are. My child, you are not lost. You are simply distracted. You have forgotten what the soul has always known, that this life is a sacred journey, not a race, that each breath is a gift, and that the deepest truths are always silent, until we're ready to hear them. Let me tell you a story. When I was a young boy, I chased everything: approval, success, pleasure, and pride. I mistook busyness for purpose. I ran toward goals the world told me were important, only to find myself empty when I reached them. It wasn't until I met my first teacher, an old monk who spoke little, but listened much, that I learned this truth. To know peace, we must stop running. He told me, "Sit with your discomfort. It is the gatekeeper of your wisdom." I didn't understand it then. But over the years, as I spent silent hours under trees, watching the seasons change without saying a word, I began to realize he was right. The answers do not arrive when we chase them. They arrive when we become still enough to receive them. You see, so many people live like they have all the time in the world. They delay joy. They postpone healing. They tell themselves, "Tomorrow I'll rest. Tomorrow I'll forgive. Tomorrow I'll begin." But my friend, tomorrow is a promise no one has received. Every time the sun rises, it's as if the universe is whispering, "You have another chance." Another chance to make peace with your past. Another chance to be fully here. Another chance to let go of what no longer serves you. But what are you doing with your chances? Let me ask you gently. When was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for a screen? When was the last time you truly listened, not just to others, but to your own soul? Do you even know what it is trying to tell you? Most of us are so used to noise that we are afraid of the quiet. But the quiet is where you meet your true self, not the self you show the world, not the one wrapped in titles, roles, and expectations, but the one that was there before all of it. The one that remains when everything else is taken away. That is the self I want you to return to. That is the self that knows the divine truth. That is the self that is always whispering, "There is more." Now don't worry. I'm not asking you to renounce the world. I am not saying you need to live in a monastery to find peace. What I am saying is that you must stop sleeping through your own life, and that begins with one sacred act: awareness, to notice how you breathe, to feel the weight of your thoughts, to observe your emotions like clouds in the sky, not to judge them, but to learn from them. This is not spiritual poetry. This is the practice. And it starts small. Start with your breath. Just one deep inhale and a gentle exhale. Can you feel how sacred that is? We often ask, "What is my purpose?" But maybe the real question is, what am I neglecting while I search for my purpose? Often, it is the present moment, and it is in the present moment, raw, quiet, and unfiltered, where the divine truth begins to speak. This is only the beginning. There is so much more I must tell you, but for now, let this sit in your heart like a seed. Water it with stillness, nurture it with intention, and when we continue, I will tell you about the illusions we live by and how to free yourself from them. Welcome back, Seeker. I trust you've sat with the silence for a while. Let us continue. You see, the most dangerous prison is not made of walls or steel. It is made of the beliefs we never question. And today, I want to speak with you about illusions. The ones we're born into, the ones we feed, and the ones that quietly feed on us. The first illusion is this, that we must become someone else to be worthy. From a young age, the world begins writing on your soul, telling you who you should be, what you should strive for, what success looks like, how happiness should feel. You are handed blueprints by those who never built lives they loved. And so, you begin living a life that isn't yours. We wear masks. So many masks. The achiever, the perfectionist, the peacemaker. But all of these are roles we've been trained to play, and underneath them, there is someone trying to remember who they were before they were told who they should be. I wore a mask too. As a young novice monk, I believed I had to appear wise, serene, disciplined. Even when I was confused, restless, and full of doubt. I smiled when I wanted to cry. I nodded when I longed to question. Until one night, sitting alone, under a moonlit sky, I whispered to the stars, "Who am I really?" And a voice within responded, "You are the one who is asking." You see, self-discovery doesn't begin with answers. It begins with honest questions. Who am I beneath my achievements? What do I believe when no one is watching? What am I clinging to because I'm afraid to be empty? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary. The second illusion is this, that more will make you happy. More money, more praise, more followers, more control. But I have sat with the rich and the poor, the powerful and the humble, and let me tell you something few will admit. More only amplifies what is already within you. If you are restless, more will only make you more anxious. If you are at peace, even little feels like abundance. True joy does not come from addition, but from subtraction. Not from adding more to your life, but from removing what keeps you from yourself. Busyness, distraction, ego, comparison. These are the weights that keep your soul from flying. One of my teachers once said, "The less I carried, the more I saw." I did not understand what he meant until I left behind everything, possessions, ambition, identity, and simply sat with the trees. It was there that I finally saw clearly. Joy is not something you chase, it's something you uncover. Now, the third illusion is the most dangerous of all, that we are separate. Separate from each other. Separate from nature, separate from the divine. This illusion is the root of fear, hatred, loneliness, and suffering. It makes us think, that is not my problem, or that pain is not mine. But my dear friend, your soul is not a solitary island. It is part of an ocean. We are not drops in the ocean. We are the ocean in a drop. You and I are not strangers. We are two expressions of the same sacred flame. When one suffers, all suffer. When one heals, all are lifted. You don't have to believe in religion to believe in this truth. All it takes is one act of kindness to realize connection is the real miracle. And so, I ask you now, where have you allowed illusions to build your life? What stories do you keep telling yourself because you fear what comes after silence? Who might you be if you let go of who you're pretending to be? Don't be afraid. Every layer you peel away brings you closer to your true self, and the world does not need more copies. It needs the truth of you, the real you, the one beneath the masks, the one who has been quietly waiting for this moment. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to remember yourself, and remembering takes time. It takes courage, but most of all, it takes presence. So, sit with this. Breathe with this. Let these words settle not in your mind, but in your being. Because in the next part of our journey together, I will share with you how to break free from the cycles, the emotional loops, the spiritual forgetfulness, and the habits that keep you from awakening fully. There is more to say, much more. But let's pause here. Let it sink in. And when you're ready, you've come this far. That means you're not just listening, you're remembering. And now, It's time to look at the patterns that hold you captive. The invisible cycles that quietly run your life while you believe you're the one in control. These patterns are old. They are often inherited, passed from parent to child, generation to generation, culture to culture. Patterns of fear, of judgment, of comparison, of striving without rest. And until we bring them into the light, they run us like scripts in the background. Have you ever noticed how the same types of situations keep showing up in your life? The same kinds of relationships, the same inner battles, the same emotions, just dressed in new clothing. This is no coincidence. Life is not punishing you. Life is trying to teach you. But the lesson will keep repeating until the student becomes present enough to learn. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man in our monastery who came to us after a long, painful divorce. He had been through 3 marriages. All had ended in heartbreak. He believed he was cursed. "Why does this always happen to me?" he would ask in desperation. But slowly, gently, through silence and reflection, he began to see. It wasn't his partners who were the pattern. It was his inability to be vulnerable, to be fully seen. He wore charm like armor and humor like a mask, but never allowed himself to be raw. And when people couldn't connect to his truth, they left. Not because they didn't love him, but because he never showed them who he really was. The moment he saw this, he cried, not out of shame, but out of liberation. For the first time, he wasn't a victim. He was a participant in his own unfolding, and from that place of ownership, the pattern began to dissolve. You see, transformation does not come from blaming the world. It comes from seeing how we contribute to our own suffering. So I ask you, what stories do you keep repeating because they feel familiar, even when they hurt? What role have you unconsciously accepted in your own life story? The martyr, the rescuer, the rebel, the invisible one? And more importantly, who would you be without that role? The mind will resist. It always does. It clings to identity, even painful ones, because they feel safe, predictable. But the soul longs for liberation. Breaking the cycle begins with awareness, yes, but it deepens with compassion. You cannot hate yourself into healing. You cannot shame yourself into growth. The only way forward is with tenderness. To look at your wounds not as failures, but as evidence that you were brave enough to feel. And in that spirit, I invite you to sit with your inner child, the younger version of yourself who was once hurt, abandoned, criticized, overlooked. Sit with them, not to fix them, but to listen, to say, I see you, I hear you, and I won't leave you again, because that is the root of so many cycles. The unhealed parts of us that continue to cry out for attention through the life we create. But healing is not the end of pain. It is the beginning of wholeness. When you stop running from yourself, you finally begin the journey home. There is a freedom waiting on the other side of your patterns. A life where you are not defined by your past, your trauma, or your pain, but by your presence, your awareness, your ability to choose something new again and again until it becomes your truth. This is the quiet revolution, not the kind that changes governments or headlines, but the kind that changes souls. And when enough souls awaken, the world does not remain the same. So, what pattern are you ready to break today? Pause, reflect, and when the time is right, act with kindness, with courage. Because every small act of awakening creates a ripple, far beyond what you can see. And in our next time together, I will tell you how to protect your peace, how to guard your energy like sacred ground, and how to walk through chaos without letting it enter you. Until then, you've returned again. And that tells me you're not merely listening. You're beginning to feel. Not just in your mind, but in your body, in your breath, in your very being. Today, I want to speak with you about peace, not as an idea, but as a sacred responsibility. You see, the world is noisy, and it will always be. There will always be demands for your attention, distractions crafted to steal your presence, voices outside and inside pulling you in every direction. The mind, left untrained, will try to outrun this noise, but the soul learns to rise above it. The truth is, peace is not something you stumble upon when everything calms down. It is something you cultivate within. Even as the storm rages around you, peace is not the absence of chaos. It is the refusal to let chaos live within you. But how do we protect our peace in a world so quick to disrupt it? Let me tell you something. I learned not through books, but through watching the river beside our temple. One day, after a heavy rain, the river was loud, wild, full of mud and fallen branches. It was a mess. But beneath the surface, deep below, the water was still flowing. Slow, clear, untouched. That's what you must become. The deeper current. You cannot control the surface of life, the noise, the conflict, the unexpected losses, the opinions of others. But you can choose your depth. You can anchor yourself so deeply that even when the world shouts, you do not lose the whisper of your soul. And it begins with boundaries. Not walls, boundaries. Sacred lines that honor your energy, your time, and your heart. Many people are drained not because they're doing too much, but because they're giving without intention. Saying yes to what should be a no. Engaging in conversations that serve no growth. Allowing access to parts of themselves that have not been respected. Listen closely. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you on the sacred path. Some are simply lessons, others are mirrors, and a very few, are companions of the soul. To protect your peace, you must learn the art of discernment. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to myself or further away? Is this interaction aligned with who I am becoming? Am I responding from truth or reacting from old wounds? These are powerful questions. They act like filters for your spirit. And once you begin to guard your peace, something beautiful happens. Your presence becomes medicine. You begin to walk slower. Speak less, but say more. Listen without rushing to reply. And others feel it, even if they can't explain why. You become the stillness in the room full of noise. You become the calm in the middle of the storm. You become a sanctuary, not only for yourself, but for others who have forgotten what peace feels like. But understand this, protecting your peace is not selfish. It is sacred work. Because a peaceful soul becomes a healing force in a fractured world. I remember a moment in my own journey, a day when I was deeply shaken. A fellow monk had passed unexpectedly. The community was grieving. The silence was heavy. That evening I sat beside my teacher seeking comfort. He said nothing for a long time. And then finally, he whispered, "Even the deepest sorrow becomes sacred when you meet it with peace." I didn't understand him then, but as I wept without resistance, as I let grief wash over me without judgment or fear, I realized something. Peace is not the absence of feeling. It is the embrace of all feeling with spaciousness, compassion, and presence. So I ask you now, what are you allowing to steal your peace? Is it the need to prove yourself? The fear of being misunderstood? The weight of carrying others' expectations? You are not here to carry every burden. You are here to walk lightly, to shine, to serve. Yes, but not at the cost of your soul. Take time each day to return to your breath, to your body, to the silence that speaks. Take walks without a destination. Speak only when your words are rooted in truth. Protect your morning like sacred ground. Guard your evenings like a temple. And remember, you do not need to explain your peace to anyone. You only need to live it. In the next part of our journey, I will speak of the final lesson, the one that brings all the others together, the truth about your time, your legacy, and what it truly means to live a life of depth. Until then, sit with this. Let it shape you. Let it soften you. Let it remind you of the stillness that never leaves you. This is where our path begins to close, but not end, because every ending is simply a return to what matters most. And what matters, dear seeker, is not what you've done, but how deeply you have lived. Let us speak now of the final lesson, the one the world avoids, the one that, if remembered, would change everything. You will not be here forever. And though that truth may seem somber to some, to the awakened, it is sacred. Because when you remember that your time here is limited, you begin to live as though each moment is eternal. People chase legacy as if it were built in stone or status or achievements. But your real legacy is the feeling you leave in others. It's the quiet kindness you offer when no one is watching. It's the calm you bring into a room. It's the peace you become. So others remember who they are in your presence. Do not wait to live fully. Do not wait for the perfect moment to start loving openly, forgiving freely, giving generously. This, right now, is the perfect moment. Because the truth is, none of us are guaranteed another sunrise. Let me tell you something one of the oldest monks in our monastery once told me before he passed. He looked at me with those tired but glowing eyes and said, "Live in such a way that death finds you empty. Nothing left unsaid, nothing left unloved, nothing held back. That is how you measure a life, not by how long you live, but by how lightly you've carried it. So I ask you, with all the compassion I have to offer, what are you still holding back? Who are you still waiting to become? What would your life look like if you stopped waiting for clarity and started living from courage? Maybe you've been delaying your dreams because you fear failure. Maybe you've been avoiding difficult conversations because you fear loss. Maybe you've been putting off rest because you fear being seen as weak. But I say to you now, with the deepest truth I know, there is no someday. There is only this breath. And every moment you spend waiting is a moment you've surrendered to fear. Courage is not loud. It's not flashy. It is the quiet choice to keep going, to open your heart again, to say what needs to be said, even if your voice shakes, to show up as you are, even if the world doesn't understand you yet. That is divine bravery. That is a soul in bloom. And do not think for a moment that you are too late. Life blooms again and again, sometimes in the final season, the final breath, the final heartbeat. What matters is that you choose to awaken, even if you've walked the wrong path for years. The moment you take a single step inward, you begin again. And so I leave you with this question, the one I return to every morning before the sun rises and the world begins again. If today were the last day, how would I live? Would you forgive? Would you express? Would you rest? Would you finally listen to the whisper that has always been calling you home? The divine truth is this: you are not here by accident. Your pain has not been pointless. Your journey is not broken. It is beautiful and brave and becoming something sacred with every breath you take. So walk forward now, not with urgency, but with reverence. Not to chase meaning, but to become it. Your life is the message. Your presence is the prayer. Your breath is the miracle. In our final conversation, I will leave you with the deepest truth I have found. A truth that lives beyond words, beyond teaching, beyond even the self. It is the message that only silence can carry, and only the heart can understand. So you've stayed, you've walked, with me through every step, every story, every silence. That tells me something sacred. You are no longer seeking. You are remembering. And now, this is the end of our conversation, but perhaps the beginning of your transformation. I have spoken to you of stillness, of patterns, of peace, of impermanence, but now let me give you something deeper, something I cannot explain, only offer. This is the divine truth. You are already what you are searching for. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are not your wounds, your shame, your fear, your failures. You are awareness itself, the space behind the thought, the silence between the noise, the stillness beneath the storm. You are the witness to it all. And when you come to see this, not just with your mind, but with your whole being, you stop trying to become, and you start to remember. You remember that you are not here to prove your worth. You are worth. You are not here to chase love. You are love. You are not here to seek peace. You are peace. Everything you long for is not outside you. It is the deepest part of you calling you home. You see, enlightenment is not some mountaintop reserved for the few. It is the gentle realization, again and again, that this moment, this breath, is sacred. It is the remembrance that the divine does not live in the sky, or in temples, or in books alone. The divine lives in you, in your eyes, in your scars, in your laughter, in your tears. You carry the infinite within your finite form. And when you touch that, truly touch it, you will find a stillness so complete it cannot be disturbed, a joy so quiet it cannot be shaken, a love so vast it no longer needs a reason. This is the divine truth. Simple, humble, hidden in plain sight. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to embrace it, fully, fearlessly, wholeheartedly. Let the wind move you. Let the pain shape you. Let the love open you. But never forget, you are the sky, not the weather. And now, I offer you the greatest gift I can give: silence. Because all truths eventually dissolve into it. All teachings end in it, and it is there, in the silence, where you will meet your truest self. The monk slowly places his palms together in prayer. He bows his head. A moment of complete silence fills the screen, a silence that says, more than words ever could. Wherever you go from here, go gently, live deeply, love freely, and remember, the path has always been within you. If you found this message, it was meant for you. This isn't just a video, it's a sacred conversation for your soul. Join a wise monk as he gently guides you through powerful stories, timeless truths, and deep reflections that will awaken something ancient within you. Let this be the pause your spirit has been waiting for, a moment of clarity in the chaos. Share in the comments. What truth resonated with you most deeply? Subscribe for more life-changing wisdom and mindful guidance. Turn on notifications so you never miss your next step on the path. Share this with someone who needs peace today. You are none, you are not lost. You are being called home. Welcome back.